Welcome to the latest edition of the AIM Growth Partners podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Tiago Maior. He is the founder and CEO of EZOps Cloud. Tiago, thank you for joining me today.
No problem. It's a pleasure being here.
We've got so much to unpack on this episode, and I think before we kind of get stuck into your journey and your kind of roots and what you've learned as a founder, take us back to the start, because you've come, I think your route to a founder and CEO is quite an interesting one. You come from quite a technical background, so please could you give the listeners a bit of an insight into that.
Sure. It was a big journey, to be honest. It's been 9 years since I decided to start EZOps Cloud. I am originally from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, and then I started first of all, looking at this DevOps landscape at that time, right, was 2015, 2016. And although DevOps was already there, it's been some years, there was a lot of different tools available. So I just started digging around, playing around with the tools. And eventually I was able to hit my first remote job, first remote company. I worked with a consulting company here in the US from Brazil at a time that there wasn't a lot of Brazilians actually doing this kind of thing. And it kind of blew my mind how remote work was at that time, because this company, I was working at a company called Flux 7 that had everything organized, all the tools, everything set up for this kind of work, and just, blew my mind is two things, right? How can remote work could be like a full-time employee, but also the DevOps and cloud environment, how they was evolved, right? Especially based on the companies that I work in the past, especially in Brazil. Right. So this blew my mind. I just dig more and more, even work with the company, with the consulting firm. But that also gave me an opportunity as I updated my profile in platforms like Upwork and LinkedIn. I could also saw how much companies were looking for that professional, for that kind of specific of professional, right? So I invested a little bit on my profile, and eventually I got a lot of startups asking for my help. I worked pretty hard, and then I had more clients that I can handle. And then I just started with a couple of guys that I already knew and asked them to work with me. And that, was the time that, I knew that there was a business there, right? That I really did rely on the Upwork platform. It's an amazing platform that, although it seems like a freelancing platform, but there are so many business around that platform, right? There are so many people looking for more and more work, more help, especially on high technical ends like DevOps and cloud, that they just help me out all the way. The fact that I was just a developer from Brazil, and the fact that I didn't have any reference, I didn't know much people in the US, right? It was really hard to build a company around that. But I think on my side was the technical experience, right? The knowledge that I even got from the company that I started to work with Flux 7. But having Upwork by my side and finding more clients gave, the leverage we needed to build a company around that, right? With no reference. And then with Upwork, I was able to build reference for myself. I was able to, get that contacts, and those clients would get more work. I would get a great relationship with them, and we were able to grow from that, right? Of course, being in Brazil, I leverage off also the fact of the currency was not that high, and we could offer, a specific kind of work without actually, relying on a big budget from clients, right? That gave us everything that we had just to organize ourselves and have been able to be a 9 years old company with almost 80 employees now, but also keep, having those relationships with clients and keep doing really good work. And especially, in that area, focus on startups, it does give us the fact that we are talking with too many people, right? We're talking with too many clients, and that is able to, to identify the market, to identify what the market needs, exactly what kind of customers we need to focus on, and what kind of work we need to do for those guys, right? At the same time that we don't rely in a big budget for 9 years, we've been through different situations in the IT market, right? I think when I started 2016, market was not that good. And then we got up to a point that was incredible up to 2021, 2022. Now I think it's getting better again. No, 2022, 2024 was that not that good, but still we were able to grow, right? But I think that's the fact that we have all those experience and all those customer relationship was able to keep us going and keep understanding what the market is, right? And everything without reference. But now we do have reference. We do have the customers that we need when we were beginning. Time, fixes everything. So I think a lot of work, of course, but a lot of technical background helped us a lot along the way.
Amazing. Well, first of all, I want to say what an inspiring story from, your first introduction kind of working for US companies was as a remote employee. It opened your eyes up to the opportunities out there through predominantly leveraging the Upwork platform. You met the customers, these startups understood what their needs were and mapped your services onto those needs. So instead of going after the kind of the larger enterprises and going after bigger budgets, you were going and you were more agile, more nimble, and offering kind of lower cost, like more bespoke solutions to these startups. So correct me if I'm wrong on anything there.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. The fact that we didn't, had a big sales process, right? Means that, we don't wait like 6 months to close a deal, right? The fact that we don't spend a lot of money on this process, right? Changing everything, right? Because it's a quick hire from the customers, right? He can try it out. I don't need to have a 1-year contract, right? They just can say, look, let's try it out. And because of the profile on Upwork, they had the confidence to do that. So spot on, actually. That is exactly what we did, not needing to rely on big contracts, on long-term contracts, show the customers how confident we were on the work itself.
Talk around some of the real world challenges and solutions that you are kind of helping these businesses with. And
so what we do provide, I think in the end, is highly technical software skills, right? So customer can have different different developers that they can hire, right? But it's really hard to understand that if those developers are doing the right solution and they were able to code the right way, so their product can be in the market for years and years, right? So I think that's what we provide. Of course, the end service that we provide is infrastructure and cloud and DevOps, right? Pipelines. And that I do believe that since the beginning, that's the hardest part of the software development. Right. So you need to have knowledge not only of software development, but infrastructure itself. So to find this kind of professional is really hard. Also, with that in mind, having a full-time DevOps is really hard because for one company that have sometimes 10 developers, 20 developers, it's hard to have enough work for a DevOps engineers like for 1 or 2 years. So I end up seeing situations when we had companies that didn't have enough work for one guy and they have teams of DevOps engineers because eventually they couldn't also rely on just one person. Those DevOps teams they needed to reinvent themselves and find work within the company, but because of that, they couldn't evolve professionally and technically in order to be better at their work because they were working just one company, right? So what I would offer a company that would have 2 or 3 engineers is like, no, you can do the same kind of work on a part-time guy. But also that part-time guy is also work with 3, 4 sometimes customers, and that is giving him all the technical skills and the experience that even a full team couldn't provide to them. So DevOps is a specific kind of situation for each company, and sometimes relying people that is just dedicated to them is not an ideal solution, right? So that's what I eventually realized by myself, even because when I started to work with 2, 3 clients, I could see that I was learning way more because I was using different tools. I was, deploying in the different scenarios, different situations. So I had the feedback, and I could also reuse some kind of the work that I would do for client number 1 with the client number 2, because the technology are mostly the same. So that was an opportunity that I saw back then, and I still provide. And the fact that we have 9 years, can you believe the whole experience that we have and we offer them is just explode, right? So the amount of time when I started, that I would take, 6 months to deliver a project. I have guys in my team that, started 1 month ago and they're delivering a couple of weeks. right? And the risk of deploying something more complicated is really low because you have a lot of people also reviewing the infrastructure and make sure they're doing that. But every time one of our professionals delivers some work, they are also reviewing the work of the developers, right? Because it have to fit the infrastructure and to fit the developments. Also help the clients to drive themselves and to see if their solution is actually working. So it's a lot of things that comes with our help, right, with the work that we provide. It's funny you asked over time, what was the difference? I think for the last 2 years, we've been providing the same thing, just evolving technically and being able to identify the changes in the market, especially in the cloud, right? What are the new services that come in the cloud? But in DevOps and infrastructure, nothing had changed so much over time. Not only the fact that we don't have that much of a tools available in the market, and everybody just focus on like Kubernetes, Lambda, and some specific clouds. Everything changing when AI comes. Right. So for the past 2 years, AI is changing everything. And we are trying to, try to understand as much as possible the impact of AI, especially in software development, but in our case, infrastructure. So I think at this point, we are shifting to how AI can help this whole process. Is already been helping out, reducing the time, of course, to deliver our service even more than what we did in the past. So the risk starts to becoming really, really low for customers to have our solutions and implement what we are able to deliver. But also, I think AI is way more than that. Right? It's not just a tool for developers. It can also become a tool for clients that can use and help them out so they don't have to rely that much even on us. So we created a structure in order that so the customer doesn't have to rely on a specific engineer, right? So I think with the AI, we can even build something that they don't have to rely on us. So I think that's where AI is going to be. I don't think that's a problem because that's not something that is going to remove our opportunity in the market, right? It's actually going to create. Funny thing, when I started in DevOps 9 years ago, every company that I started working with DevOps, you get a bunch of developers and QA thinking, this is going to, kill the market for QA, for instance, right? This is going to impact the guys from the infrastructure that didn't know DevOps and only know like Linux or Windows, right? Because everything's going to be automated. And everybody was worried. Even back then, I would tell them, look, that is not going to happen. It's just new opportunities. You're just going to develop a better software. And I think it's the same thing. It's not that opportunity is going to go away. It's just the fact that we're going to be better in what we do. We have a tool that can help us, right? But especially is going to filter the best professionals. That's exactly what DevOps did 10, 15 years ago. It's just an opportunity. I'm just really excited because when I started with DevOps already, maybe I was 5, 6 years late. With AIs right now, everybody that tries to understand that is gonna be really better for the eye of customer of anything that they want to work with IT, right? I think it's just a matter to understand that and don't think AI is a problem, but a solution for a lot of different things. I started using also AI with marketing. Marketing is a big solution, especially for a company like this, right? So all technical, no marketing background or anything. So they need to hire marketing companies. But in our case, AI just help us identify exactly what we need to do, right? It was the first big impact on the company was the marketing part. But and also didn't remove the opportunity of marketing companies, but it did remove the opportunity of marketing companies that create solution that doesn't work. And a lot of companies, especially that lead generated craziness that I had, right? How many companies offer lead generation now? AI do this kind of things pretty quick, but is also able to give us some feedback on the best marketing strategies. You have great companies that are doing great work. It's able to give us some feedback in the work that is not that good. So same thing in IT, something in software development. It's going to be able to filter everyone out. So you're not going to be able to hire a company that do really poor software development, right? Because eventually AI is just able to review the code, review the deliverable and see there's something wrong here. If the company already knows how to use AI, they're going to deliver the best solution for software development because they already know that the client is going to check with AI. If they don't check with AI, they might deliver something that is not that good. Right? So that's a big example how it is an opportunity and not a problem.
So it sounds like you're incredibly bullish. Are there any kind of challenges with AI or problems it poses?
Yes. I would say like AI would be the, making a reference about DevOps, but also in the cloud business, right? So like in the 2000s, when I started, building a web business was pretty expensive, right? Because you need to hire a server, set up a server in the data center. So you have to pay for that machine. It was just like really expensive, right? And then cloud came out, you just, register, and then you have a full server online from you for a small fraction of the cost. Right? It's the same thing that AI is doing right now, right? It's being able to deliver stuff for a fraction of the cost. And that killed a few data centers, of course, but well, most of them kept going. But I think it did create a big opportunity for everyone. That's what AI doing, I think, creating opportunities, not only in software development, but all the areas. But at the same time, as you ask, what is the biggest challenge of AI? I think I've been to a few comfortable with AI, and I think the big expression is that AI is not that smart, right? AI cannot some numbers. They can't do a lot of things. So in order for you to actually use AI the right way, and in a way that is really productive, you really really need to understand, and you have to put a lot of work on it. So you have to invest. So it's not just like the cloud that is just, put up, register, and start using. But, you might think that even back then, building a cloud was a lot of work. So it's just the same thing, building an AI solution, building something that actually works, still a lot of work. So for instance, we have an internal tool that is basically an agent of AI that is trying to simulate to be a software developer. And we are investing in this for the past 2 years. And when we started, we did a few proof of concepts, and it was amazing what it could do back then, right? Because it was just a proof of concept. When we actually started to use it and we scale, we see that's going to be way more work than we expect, right? Because it started to fail in a lot of different places. We had to increase adding modules, adding more layers and layers so that it could work the way that we need it. So a lot of work, years now of work, right? So AI is not that is smart. So sometimes it seems for specific situations that is amazing. It is doing exactly what a full, movies, robots are gonna do, right? But just some specific situations, not all the time. And if you're using AI for your work, sometimes you need to do all the time. So otherwise it's not gonna work because you need to rely on that, right? So in order to rely on that, there's a lot of work to be done. I do think that there are a lot of models that are coming up, right? But even with the best models that we see, right, that charges a lot of money, still a lot of work. It gets better, but I don't think it's gonna get better in a way that you just plug in and that's it. You still have to worry. You're gonna have to worry a lot for few years, and maybe it will never be as good as some people think, because it's doing some specific situations that they think that it's really good, right? So but I think that's also an opportunity, right? Still there's a lot of work to be done, still need to rely in another knowledge of experience. That's why the tool that we are developing is called Lace. It has not only AI behind it, but actually human experience, right? We have to develop a way to get all our 9 years experience, more than 500 customers that we helped over all this time, and provide that knowledge to it. And not only that specific knowledge, but we keep using and we keep learning from ourselves, right? So you have to understand that the model itself, the AI, is just getting information from documentation, just like human actually, right? So getting data from blogs and everything, but it doesn't have real experience, right? Maybe sometimes they are getting some information from some blogs that said that it tried in a specific way, and then that can be considered an experience, but it doesn't have any experience. And in the human side, right, experience is, well, one of the most important things, right? So you hire somebody for the experience, not that much of his technical knowledge. right? And that's what we try to do with this, try to learn from itself so we can have the experience at some level. But it's really hard. It depends on a lot of development, a lot of tests, right? That I think also is an opportunity because we have the opportunity to invest on that. We have the opportunity to build that product, to provide a better service from our clients. So it's not even a product that we are developing that we rely on our business on. It's just helping out our customers and our developers, right? So again, an opportunity that other companies that really have to rely on those services that might not have, and we are having right now. So I think that's the great opportunity that we are a company that we're not that big, that we're able to focus on that to help our customers. I'm seeing also some other companies doing the same thing, but I think also the big the company, the more everything gets more complicated. Right? It's hard to understand exactly how to invest, but I see a lot of companies. I personally talk to a lot of big companies also about ACE. They are all, very intrigued. And I think, again, gives us a lot of opportunity for people to develop something new. The SaaS area market, everybody is building a SaaS. I think now's the time that everybody build a AI SaaS. A big opportunity. Everybody thought that SaaS was dead. There was no more product that people could invent. So they now can actually build something or even get their product and add SaaS to it. Add AI to it. Right? So what a big opportunity for people that didn't think that SaaS. Maybe now we're going to get back, 2019, where all the investors would put a lot of money on SaaS, right? And now everybody's going to put money on SaaS companies that are building something with AI.
Yeah, such an interesting observation. It's going to be interesting to see how it kind of plays out. I think there is a lot of fatigue at the fragmented nature of the SaaS model, which worked incredibly well, but I think ultimately it's going to be interesting to see how maintaining the human in the loop or the human-centered AI approach is hopefully going to kind of prevail. But turning attention to your business and your journey, as I said at the start, I think it's an incredibly inspiring one looking back at your kind of roots and you starting out in Brazil as a remote working for a US company. Talk to me over the 10 years, where you've built the business up to now, some of the key kind of lessons you've learned, the challenges you've navigated and how you've got up to this, this size and scale that you have today.
Good question, because it's been so much time already, right? So there have been so many challenges. It's like that, that idea. Every year is a challenge, right? Every year we got something new. You have to figure out that specific issue. And then the next year, maybe you have a different one. You have to go back to see if you already had in the past the same issue. But I have a few. I think the first, of course, especially because I was working, and maybe I can do the same comparison with AI now, right? So when I started, my biggest challenge is finding the right people for this job, right? Because I was pretty experienced, right? But I wanted to learn something new. Always work something up. I work like that, right? So I wanted to learn the best thing in the market for software development, right? And when I started to hire a few guys, I just thought, look, this is DevOps, software development. I need somebody really experienced for that, right? So I started to hire the most experienced guy that I could find, and really expensive that would make everything much more complicated, right? And then I hired those guys initially, and it didn't work. It didn't work because I was working with something so new, cloud and DevOps back then, that they just thought, look, I've been working in IT for more than 10 years now. I'm not going to change the way I develop. I'm not going to use containers. They didn't want to automate the whole process. They were struggling to learn and to implement anything. They were taking too much time because they couldn't learn. So I think I stayed like that for over a year, where I could manage 3 or 4 clients, and I just gave one for the new guys, and they couldn't handle. Eventually, I had a couple of interns that they were pretty young, 19, 20 years old only, and we were struggling so much. I had a partner back then that my partner just said, look, what if we just test the interns on that kind of work? They actually got other kind of projects, not DevOps or cloud. And then he said, look, I think they might be able to do that. Then I really? You think that? Okay. well, let's just try. And was incredible, right? So they did pretty fast. They were pretty good, but I think most of all, they were able to learn something pretty quick, right? And they were eager to learn, right? And they didn't have the past experience that at some point was good, but, for that specific situation was not that good. So eventually we find that work, and then we just started to get people with not that much, with some experience, but not that much, because at that point was something really new. Now it's a different situation. Everybody already knows a little bit about the whole DevOps and Kubernetes. There is another problem, but a different from one. But eventually we found that there is a specific profile of developers, of engineers that you can find for a company, right? And I struggled that in the beginning. And you can see, I think the AI now, it's almost the same thing that I can think, because whenever I try to talk about AI with a customer and he brings one of his senior engineer, the senior engineer just, no, I don't want to talk about AI, because he feels that AI is for bad developers that are not able to develop and struggle to deliver. Kind of the same situation. Experienced engineer might struggle a little bit to understand AI and to use even AI. And you have the new ones, not that experienced, that they just to deliver fast, right? That they just want to make a big impact. So I think eventually you figure out that your company is only gonna be able to survive if you have the right people. And software engineer is pretty hard to find, right? Everybody wants to be a software engineer because of the salaries, right? And be able to work remotely. So you have to really be careful. And in my case, a big challenge was finding the right profile for that. But after that, I can also say the next challenge was project management for sure. It's another thing that it seems like there is a lot of people that want to be a project manager, but it's really hard to find the right fit. And the project manager is going to be the person that is going to communicate with the client. So in order for you to scale, you have to find the right project manager and the right people. So that's something also were really hard to find. And being able to scale, being able to find a team and build a team that is able to deliver for you in the level that you expect. And that's a really part of building a company, besides the fact that you have to worry about marketing that you don't know anything about it, right? But I think I still can say that, the Upwork platform is something that I always say that always help. So if you're able to build a company, finding the right profiles, finding the right people, at the same time that if you figure out a way for lead generation, I think you're good on all sides. And then you can develop all these areas over time, right? But I think that would be the main challenge for sure.
So it sounds like it very much the people. And I think one of the things I've kind of taken from that, or the main thing, is hiring for attitude over aptitude. You mentioned that getting those people that the finished the article, they all came and presented their own sort of challenges. Whereas moving from that real senior sort of tick all the boxes, or 99% of the boxes, to actually someone that's a bit junior, they might be a bit out of their depth, we're chucking them in the deep end here. Actually, that attitude piece and having people that have the right skills, right motivations, right attitude towards learning, that was something that was, I guess kind of catalytic for you in scaling and growing the business.
Yes, but every business you have to think that you need to innovate in all the areas, right? Not only what you're selling, but internally, right? I think my business, it's a Brazilian outsourced company, right? So I'm innovating at all times, because I'm getting Brazil. There's not a lot of companies that do what I do, right? For this specific kind of work. So it's already an innovation by itself, right? So you need to find the people that are, just like I said, right, are engaged with the work, because you can explain how to work, right? So you shouldn't rely on finding people that they're gonna explain to you what to do. You have to explain to them. That's gonna make everything easier if you have to explain to them and you understand how you expect them to work. So what do you need from that? You just need the motivation, the responsibility, right? So you need a little bit of experience, of course. Getting them with nothing is pretty hard. I did that back in my time, even with DevOps. I would put them in training for 6 months or more so they can learn. But it wasn't ideal, right? So you need somebody that is ready to work. Now I have somebody that I can hire somebody that is ready to work, but still you have to see if that person is motivated enough to do that kind of work, right? If you think I'm not 80 employees, not that big. So you have people that just are looking for working for big companies and they're not going to be motivated working for you, right? So I think motivation is the most important thing as long as you understand the work that you hire them, right? For instance, I hired so many marketing people over time and they didn't work because I didn't know what to expect from them.
Yeah.
I knew the numbers, right? Okay, I need leads, but I didn't know how to explain that to them. So I kept hiring marketing people, consulting firms, all of that. So much money spent there because I didn't know how to explain to them over time. The good things, though, those mistakes that I actually got some experience from my side, and now I know a lot about that area. I think, right? I know what works, but especially I know what doesn't work. So I think that as long as you, as a company, understand everything needs to be done, and you don't need to develop any kind of specific area, and even finance also, right? So you have to learn finance to know what to expect from a CFO when you hire, right? So as long as you are able to explain all the specific areas, and that's good from my side, and that's really good for a developer starting the company by myself, right? Because I have to do every single function of the company as I grow. So I feel in marketing because Upwork is good, amazing platform, but it didn't allow me to develop my skills in lead generation over time. I had to do that years later in the company. But that's okay because eventually the business was driving for that, and the clients would come back and everything. But that's something that took some time to understand. But every developer, every technical guy is going to struggle on marketing, right? There's no way around that. But I think that was the only thing that I couldn't develop and took some time. But other than that, project management, software development, the delivery, right? Even customer relationship. I didn't know, but every developer or team leader have working anywhere. They have a customer, right? And they have a boss, and they have to, engage with him the best way possible, right? And you have to be good at that. Otherwise, you're not gonna go anywhere in your career. So if you're good with that, you can manage any client because you can manage your boss, you can manage the clients, a customer from a company that you're working with a specific project, right? So you're managing all of that as a single developer. And as you understand that you can replicate this as a business, it's just a matter to explain that to other people.
So what would your recommendation be then to other founders who may be struggling with some of these pain points?
I think that everybody, just like I said, right, everybody thinks that lead generation marketing is the hardest part. I do think the hardest piece is building a team, right? Really good. And a team that is not gonna make you bankrupt, right? Because a team is pretty expensive, right? How are you gonna deal with that level of motivation that you need those people engaged and not worry about other jobs that they are looking for, and they might leave you at any time. So you have to also make sure they are engaged working for you. As you have this team, clients, customers they're gonna appear sometime, and with a good team, you're gonna do the first, the second, the third, and they're gonna come back. Right. And again, with the bad team, you're going to get some and they're not going to come back. Right. So I think they need to have a worry about the team, worry about, of course, with the team now with AI more than ever. Right. And then eventually worry about marketing. I think still, because Upwork, again, I didn't worry about the marketing, but I still think it's the last thing because there are so many companies that started with marketing and then just forget about the team and then just think, look, I don't know, I can hire somebody when the job is here, when the work is here. So as long as you are able to build a really good team, eventually you're going to find ways to generate enough business, right? And I also think that we are getting like a new kind of level companies, just like I said, like a new SaaS solution with AI, right? But also service companies are gonna mix a little bit with AI with SaaS. It's not gonna be only like providing service, like providing people to provide the service. I think it's gonna be more like provide people, you provide the tools, and then you provide the another kind of service, another whole other level. And that's a big opportunity, not way more than when I started, that you were worried that a service company can be created like from nothing and be your competitors. Now with AI, with all those experience, that's not the case, because you can invest in something, you can build something, and you can get in front of all those other companies that doesn't have your experience. So I think it is a big opportunity.
So it sounds like AI is a huge opportunity and a threat. It's a bit of a leveler that smaller players, new entrants into the space, it can be an opportunity for them to kind of level the playing field with some of the bigger, more established companies out there. So looking ahead then, and I guess as a final kind of like wrapping up, what are your kind of main priorities and focuses on the business sort of going forward as you're looking to get to that next growth phase and hit that next milestone?
I think my next phase is I'm looking a lot about the market, right? How the behaviors, doesn't matter what I think, but you have to see how the market is going to behave with a lot of things happening, right? Not only the market itself is getting more traction, right, since the last couple of years, but how people are really understanding, how the customers are understanding this whole AI shift and how their behavior. Just like I told you, like some customers, they hate AI, some customers love it, right? So what I'm doing is that I'm looking ahead, trying to see how the market is going to behave, but at the same time, already trying to be one step in front of all of this and building something with AI, right? AI, if it's not already something that is going to differentiate ourselves from other competitors, it is something that it's really good to advertise a company, right? Be able for you to explain that how AI works and how it differentiates themselves from the market, right? So that's already something, and that's what we are investing right now. But at the same time, we keep doing our work with our customers. We keep doing good work. We keep having great relationships. We keep nurturing our base clients from 9 years, a lot of clients, right? So we keep doing what we always did best, right? Because you have to see that sometimes you invest in something that is not going to happen. It can also kill you, or even you can invest a lot of money in something that is going to take years to happen, right? It can also kills you. So you can't do both. You should do both, but you cannot put everything on that. Otherwise, it's a big risk. And especially as a service company, you don't want to take a lot of risk because you have a lot of people that you have to pay salaries to, right? So I think it's a mix of that. Let's see how the market is going, but already start the investments, right? Finish something that you can show and start trying out, and keep your eyes in the market, see what everyone's doing. I've been to a lot of conference with AI, see how the customers are behaving and doing, especially the big companies, right? And then just be on top of that to make sure you understand what to do at the right time.
So it sounds like AI is well and truly a wave that you want to be riding, but whilst not forgetting or overlooking that client first, approach that's obviously allowed you to build the business up to where you've got it 10 years on.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Amazing. Well, Tiago, it's been an absolute joy and pleasure hosting you on the podcast, hearing your inspiring story from starting out as a remote worker, from a technical background, in your home country, to launching a business and essentially targeted towards kind of the smaller businesses in the US, and how you've grown it up over the last 10 years, some of the challenges you've navigated, some of the lessons learned, which you've kind of passed on to myself and the listeners. For that, I'm truly grateful. And I'm sure not just me, but the listeners that will be tuning into this podcast have probably taken a lot away from it. So thank you so much for your generosity and your contribution here, Tiago.
No problem. It's been great. Thank you, David.
Thank you.